If you're a SaaS marketer and you're not fully leveraging YouTube, you're leaving serious growth on the table. Here's what we're covering: how to build a YouTube strategy for SaaS brands, not just get views, but drive growth, the 3 content types every SaaS brand needs, and the fatal mistake most companies make: how to actually get people to view your content, because creating great content is just half the game. Getting it seen is the other, plus some bonus tips to make the content stand out. So let's dive in. How to build a YouTube strategy for SaaS brands. Stop treating YouTube like a dumping ground. Many SaaS teams use their channel for a repository for webinars, explainers, and ads. Nobody really will care if your channel is just a graveyard of underperforming videos. GitHub had this challenge. They had many different departments that were all creating content, and it became disconnected with the overall strategy and the performance. It ultimately flatlined. So we gathered data on what their audience was actually searching for and built a strategy around it. YouTube isn't just for entertainment, it is intent-driven. People come here looking for solutions, skills, and answers. And with the right strategy, your videos don't just get views, they can pre-qualified leads and build trust at scale. Unlike ads, evergreen content works 24/7. Some of the videos we made for clients years ago are still pulling hundreds of thousands of views today. Do your research. Use data to guide, not guess. The first thing we needed to learn with GitHub was what their potential customers were searching for. To do that, we had to define their ideal viewer. In the SaaS world, people call it an ICP, but on YouTube, it just means asking simple questions. Who are you trying to reach? What problems are they dealing with? What videos are they already watching? Maybe even from their competitors. Once you know this, you can start digging into the actual data. YouTube gives you a gold mine of information. You can see the exact keywords people are typing in, the videos they decide to click, and how long they actually watch them. That is why we start almost every client project with the channel analysis. We study their existing audience, their top traffic sources, and their best performing videos. All of this shows you what your ideal viewer is really searching for. If you're guessing content topics, you're already behind. And there is a wealth of data in looking at what's working for competitors, not just competitors of your business, but also competitors of your target audience's attention. We like to use vidIQ and 1 of 10 Chrome extensions to spot outliers, the content that overperforms. Take GitHub, for example. Before, their channel was filled with a lot of content that didn't quite connect with their audience. It was a bit scattered, and we stepped in, we looked at the data, and ultimately built a strategy across the whole funnel. So looking at top of funnel, this type of content is all about visibility. That's why one of the best performing pieces of content on the GitHub channel came from an interview with Linus Torvalds, a legendary creator of Git and Linux. This type of content builds authority and positions the brand through thought leadership. Middle funnel. So here's where you start building trust and showing practical value. At this stage, your audience knows who you are, but they're not ready to buy yet. They're looking for guidance, education, and a reason to keep coming back to you over anyone else. For GitHub, we leaned into this by recommending a GitHub for Beginner series. Instead of flashy marketing, it focused on teaching developers the basics, meeting them right at their skill level. That series ended up becoming the most successful content on their entire channel, not only driving consistent traffic, but also helping GitHub position itself as the go-to resource for anyone starting their coding journey. Bottom of the funnel. At this stage, it's all about conversions. It's your time to show your audience why your product is the right choice. GitHub has continued to create straightforward demos of their product. Instead of just telling people what GitHub could do, they showed it in action. And these videos target decision makers and give prospects the final push they need to move from interest to adoption. The 3 types of content SaaS brands need. Authority building content. This is where you become the go-to voice in your niche. So at the top of funnel, your goal isn't to pitch your product, it's to teach, guide, and lead conversations that matter in your industry. This is authority building content. It answers the questions your audience is already searching for, while subtly positioning your brand as the expert they can trust. The formula is simple. Identify the conversations your buyers care about. What are they Googling? What are the big trends or recurring challenges in your industry? Create deep dive problem-solving videos. These should break down complex ideas into simple, actionable insights. We've seen this strategy work with clients like Exabeam, who ranked in the number 1 and number 2 spot on both Google and YouTube for one of the most important search terms, what is SIM? That single video doesn't just bring them new traffic, it positions them as a trusted voice in the cybersecurity space. When you build this type of content, you're not just answering questions, you're shaping the way people think about the problem itself. And once they trust you to explain the problem, you're the natural choice to provide the solution. problem aware to product aware, or bridge content. The second type of content is what we call bridge content. It helps your audience move from simply knowing they have a problem to understanding how your product could be the solution. The key here is showing, not selling. Instead of telling people your product is great, you highlight real situations, strategies, and stories where it plays a role. Now you're starting to connect the dots back to your solution. Formats that work especially well include mini case studies that highlight a single client or use case, strategy breakdowns where you unpack how a specific workflow or challenge can be solved, and teardown style videos where you analyze a process, tool, or approach and then introduce how your product streamlines it. A great example of this comes from GitHub. They create a series exploring real-world use cases where GitHub played a role far beyond just storing code. From helping firefighters coordinate during wildfires to improving global healthcare access and democratizing coding education, these stories reframe GitHub as the backbone of collaboration and innovation across industries. That's what bridge content does. It educates, inspires, and it plants the seeds that your solution is the missing link without ever feeling like a sales pitch. The third type is conversion content, where you stop hinting and start asking for the conversion. Here's where most SaaS businesses miss the mark. Why? Because the content isn't explicitly calling the audience to action. You need direct content that targets decision makers. Your content should cover things like product comparisons, walkthroughs showing how it actually works, use case demos tailored to specific industries or pain points. These videos should be optimized for search around competitor names, feature comparisons, or niche keywords. So when prospects are ready to buy, you're right in front of them. Okay, you've made it this far into the video. It's time to deliver on our promise on some tips to make really engaging content. Something that stands out from the crowd. Don't settle for quick 2-minute explainers. If you want authority, aim for 10+ minute deep dives that truly solve the problem and become the best video on the topic. The key is to deliver value and tell a story. Viewers come to YouTube for answers, but they stay when the pacing feels natural, the examples feel real, and there's a clear outcome. That's how you separate yourself from the dozens of lookalike videos on the same subject. Most importantly, retention is a huge part of the game. YouTube promotes videos that people actually finish. That means scripting with intention. Hook them in the first 30 seconds, break ideas into clear sections, and add a small narrative beats, a case study, a stat, or even a quick laugh to reset attention. The higher your completion rate, the more YouTube will surface your content in suggested videos. These are the engines of real channel growth. Now, the most important thing is to make sure your audience finds you. So how to actually get people to view your content. Because creating great content is just half the game. Getting it seen is the other. Too many SaaS brands obsess over keywords and SEO while forgetting that most YouTube traffic comes from suggestive videos and the browse feed. Audience retention and click-through rate matter more than metadata and SEO. That is why packaging is critical. There are two elements to this: titles and thumbnails. They both work together to deliver promise to the audience. It is the job of the hook and the script of the video to deliver on that promise. The thumbnail may actually be the most important part of your video. Most traditional designers struggle with this. And while it's important to be on brand, most designers and brand managers are so scared of stepping outside of that they massively sacrifice performance with ineffective thumbnails that don't pique interest or curiosity. We even recommend split testing thumbnails as it's such an important part of the whole formula. As for the title, make sure it calls back on the thumbnail. It should complement the information there and create a curiosity gap. That is to spark enough interest in the audience for them to click on the video to satisfy their curiosity. Finally, do not stop at YouTube. The real magic happens when your content is integrated into the rest of your funnel. Retargeting viewers with a follow-up demo or comparison video is a simple way to move warm leads towards a decision. Think of your YouTube channel not just as a top-of-funnel tool, but as an engine for sales enablement that works 24/7. YouTube is one of the most powerful and most underused growth channels for SaaS brands. Success doesn't come from a single video, but from building a consistent library of content that keeps working week after week. If you're ready to take action, you have two options. Go the DIY route and put these steps into practice yourself, or partner with a team that can accelerate the process. At Vireo, we specialize in helping SaaS companies turn YouTube into a growth engine by handling the research, strategy, scripting, production, SEO, packaging, and more. Either way, the key is to start and stay consistent. If you're ready to make YouTube work for your business, Click below to schedule a call with us or watch some more videos to move through our funnel. I can't wink. Thanks for watching.